Hello everybody, it's Maya Joy KahNah, and in today's video I am going to be sharing 10 surprising facts about intuition. These facts are based on my experience working 3 years as a professional psychic. So let's jump in and share these surprising facts about intuition. Intuition and psychic vision feels really similar to imagination. When I first started seeing psychic visions, I kept asking myself, is this just my imagination? Because I would see somebody, for example, at the grocery store, and then all of a sudden I would see a flash of another person, maybe have the impression that that other person was their father, and maybe have the impression that that person that I saw just had a heart attack or was about to have a heart attack. And I would think, okay, you know what, maybe that was just my imagination, because maybe I saw that person buying donuts, and then maybe I thought, okay, well, probably I might have a cardiac issue, and then maybe it's in the family. So I would like talk myself out of it and just say like, oh, it's just my imagination, it's just my imagination. Once I learned to trust those little things that were popping into my consciousness and I started sharing them, I learned that they were actually really meaningful to the client. So even though it felt like imagination, it was actually clairvoyance. The greatest hurdle in using our intuition is actually our ego. When I first became a psychic, I would have two streams of consciousness going on at the same time. So in one part of my brain, I was hearing the messages for a client, whatever those so happened to be. And then at the same time, I would have my ego in my ear saying judgmental things about myself, or saying, you know what, Maya, this is going to be wrong. This is not going to resonate with your client, or stuff like that. And I had these two streams. And when my work started to become really influential, and when my reading started to really come alive, was when I learned to completely tune out of that stream that was ego. Even to this day, I'll find that whenever my ego is activated, then my readings severely suffer. And this is why meditation is really beneficial in working with your intuition. It's because it teaches you to at least identify or tune out of that ego channel. We are not truly separate from each other. I think I used to believe that there was little bubbles around every person, and that, you know, everything in a person's bubble was private. That's just what society teaches us. Society teaches us you are you, and that person over there is a totally different person who has nothing to do with you. We are not anywhere near as separate as what we think. One of the best ways to communicate with your angels or your spirit guides is just to set the intention to have your mind become one with the consciousness of your spirit guides, and then to let their consciousness actually flow through you. If you want to know about your future, the best way to do that is going to be to match your frequency to the frequency of your own future self, and then to bring through the insights and awareness from that future you. You are not separate from anyone or anything. You can literally become the frequency of anything that you want to know about, and by doing that, you can bring through the clearest intuitive insights. I never, ever, ever do a reading without smiling. If for some reason my vibration has dropped so low that I cannot smile or laugh or be happy, then I will cancel my reading. A lot of people are like, man, I really want to connect with my spirit guides, but they're nowhere to be found. Our spirit guides and our higher self are talking to us all the time. The reason why we cannot hear them is because, very frankly, we are tuned into such a low vibration. Elevate your frequency to some sort of range where you can actually interpret the messages that are already coming through from your guides. Try to tune into the frequency of joy or bliss or true love. That's going to be great. When I'm tuned into joy, or I'm tuned into true love, I don't usually have any issue hearing the angels. But if I'm tuned into fear, I cannot hear them. If you're trying to access your intuition, you want to try to do it when you're just having an amazing day. That's going to be one of the best times. the clarity of our physical body and the clarity of our mind is extremely, extremely important. Every single psychic insight that we get is going to be run through every single filter that's in our mind. This is why there's so much encouragement to know your beliefs. I do a lot to try to keep my mind very, very clear. I don't watch any news, for example. I try to avoid conversations with anybody who is negative. I don't just pick up my phone and mindlessly scroll through. I try to stay off of Facebook because there's a lot of ideas that are shared that are at a lot lower of a vibration than where I would like my mind to be. I don't read the newspaper. I have a TV right behind me, but I haven't turned on the TV in about probably 2 years. I just try to keep my mind very, very clear and to become very aware of what thoughts are there and to adjust them as needed. I also keep my body very, very clear. I spend at least 2 to 3 hours every single day clearing out my body, and I do a lot of maintenance to keep my body clear because when I'm doing readings, I use my body as an intuitive tool. In order to bring through clear messages, you are going to want to keep both your mind and your body as clear as possible. Psychic sensitivity varies from day to day. There are days where I wake up and it's like the angels are just there, and all throughout the day I am just streaming with psychic insights about everything. And then there are days where I have to work a little bit harder, where I have to meditate or take a salt bath and really get myself into the space of being able to be clear and bring through those insights for my clients. For women, our menstrual cycle can affect our psychic abilities. Moon cycles and astrological transits can have a huge impact. Some people are much more psychic around the full moon. Some people are much more psychic around the new moon. It is completely normal to have variations in your intuitive abilities from day to day. Just continue on working with your intuition and you will fall back into a state of clarity when the stars are aligned. Even psychics have difficulty reading themselves. At first, when psychics that I knew of and looked up to, when they came to me for readings, I was scared. I was like, oh my God, this psychic has come to me to test my abilities. But it just kept happening over and over again. Finally, I'd done readings for like 100 psychics and I thought, well, my abilities have already been tested. And then I realized that it's not that the psychics were coming to me to test my abilities. The psychics were coming to me because they cannot read themselves. Intuition exists outside of physical time. Most of us are very used to physical time. Now is the present moment, and there was the past, and there was the future. When we are tuning into this higher vibrational reality, the place where our intuition exists is timeless. And that's why when we tune in, we can get information about our past lives and this life. There's no such thing in that realm as September 15th. There's no such thing as January 1st. There's no such thing as April 1st. On a similar note, most of the future is negotiable. All of us have predestined events in our life. For most people, the time that we're born is predestined. The time that we die is usually predestined. For everybody, it's something that we choose before we come here. Most often, our marriage partner or our lifelong partner is usually predestined. Children that we will have are usually predestined. But most of what lies in between is negotiable. So we come here with soul contracts, which are agreements to basically meet certain people at certain times or have certain opportunities at certain times. The number of soul contracts varies a lot from person to person. On the low end, someone might have, say, 12 predestined events for their entire life. And then there are people who are here doing a ton of work, and they might have 600 predestined events. But even someone who has, say, 600 predestined events, that's only going to break down to a handful per year. So even on a month-to-month basis, they may not have anything predestined. Most of the future is negotiable. And while a really good psychic can tell you about key turning points on your path, They may not be able to tell you what's going to happen tomorrow or what's going to happen at the end of the week, because that may be determined by your free will choices and not destiny. Everyone's spirit guides are very different. Every soul has a primary spirit guide that is with us from the beginning of our soul history. So this is not your first go around. You've been with your spirit guide for tons and tons of lifetimes, and so they know you like really, really well. But what's interesting is that with every lifetime, we have different agreement for how our spirit guide will show up. And that's something that is determined before our lifetime starts. Sometimes we can be overconfident going into an incarnation, okay? If you're overconfident, then you might say to your spirit guide, hey, listen, I'm gonna remember everything that I wanted to do in that lifetime, and when I get there, just subtly guide me and only intervene if I get really far off track, okay? So some people have agreements like that with their spirit guide. And then other people have really conservative agreements with their spirit guide. Listen, like, spirit guide, I know that Earth is like really hard and it's really confusing, so please just give me as much guidance as possible every single day, multiple times a day. Show up in my dreams, guide me based on my feelings, and intervene whenever I am even a little bit off my path, okay? So some people have spirit guides like that. When I tune in to do readings, sometimes the spirit guides come forward and they might have 5 hours worth of messages. Now, most of my readings are about an hour, so I can't give 5 hours worth of messages. But sometimes I tune in and it's everything from what the person should eat to what color that they should wear to feel the best. And sometimes spirit guides will even say this exact thing to this person in your life, and this exact thing to this person in your life, and do this now, next week do this, and then in 3 months do this. And it can be like really detailed, and those are the spirit guides that are really there. They're really, really there. Those are like the helicopter parent spirit guides. There's other spirit guides who are very, very stoic, and they're still very loving. Like everybody's spirit guides like love you very, very much. There are some that are very serious, and I will tune in, and there might only be 4 messages in comparison to maybe one I did right before where there was 4,000 messages. Some people's spirit guides will say, listen, this is your path. This is what you agreed to do in your lifetime. You're going to need to get about doing that now, and you're going to need to figure out how to do it. Some of them are more like that, and then some of them are helicopter parents, and then there's everything in between. Everybody's intuitive guidance is different. So anyway, I hope that you all have enjoyed this video. I want to thank you all for watching and for tuning in. It is wonderful to have you all along on this journey. Thank you again, and namaste.